What's up, everybody? This is Caesar coming straight from the underground where we're innovating. And why are we innovating? Because we're closest to the problem and stand to benefit significantly from obtaining a solution to that problem. And today, boy, I got a good one for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share a mental model that I've been formulating just for you guys. So it's called the Holy Trinity of business functions. And today we're going to go ahead and explore that, give you some ideas, give you some frameworks, and then we'll just go from there. But first, what is the Holy Trinity of business functions? Well, these three components of a business will help you deliver value into your target customer or wherever you're trying to deliver value in your business. So let's go ahead and talk about that 1 second before we go ahead and dive into it. There's three key functions that every business should have. One is projects, the second is products, and the third is operations. All three of these work interdependently to create some sort of outcome or value to deliver to either the business externally or internally. And today we're going to go ahead and explore those three categories, look at them interdependently, do a little bit of analysis, some ideas that you can use, and then we're going to connect them all three just for you guys to show you how you can deliver value in your own business. So who's this good for? This is good for first-time entrepreneurs, people that are interested in technical management, and then people that are just trying to innovate, especially in the underground. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so as I mentioned, the Holy Trinity of business functions includes three different components. The first one is projects, so we're just going to go ahead and dive into it. So, what is a project? A project is a set of temporary activities that is focused on delivering an outcome. Right here, I have this slide for you, so that way we can go ahead and analyze that particular part of the business in isolation. As I mentioned, we're going to bring all of this together at the end so that way you can form a mental model on how to be able to execute this within your business. So, what is project management? Project management deals with the execution, the who, how, and the when, and also deals with scopes and budgets in order to be able to execute and deliver value. A good frame of reference when it comes to project management is the means of change, right? So, project management and projects in general deliver some sort of outcome and change within the organization. That's where the value drives. So, that's the biggest picture. That is one of the components of that Holy Trinity that we're talking about. So, typically, as you see on the left, projects use a very standard framework. They're a very linear process that involves initiation, planning, launch, monitor and control, and closure of the project. Now, after that closure, one of two things can happen. One, the project is completed, it has delivered its outcome, and it's served its purpose in its life cycle. The other option is to set it up in some sort of ongoing operation, which we'll get into right here in a little bit. But some of the tools that you can use in order to be able to run your projects are tools like Gantt charts, project timelines, and risk management frameworks. And these particular projects follow more of a methodology, as I mentioned, that's linear. It follows a structured methodology like a waterfall methodology or an agile methodology or even a hybrid approach, depending on what the desired outcome is. And so that's one way a business delivers value externally and internally whenever it comes to that holy trinity. Like I mentioned, this is the biggest change maker in any organization, identifying risk, determining scope, budgets, outcomes, goals, milestones, and all of that. So, what's that second component of the Holy Trinity of a business function? Well, I'm glad you asked, because if we follow this arrow, we'll see product. Now, what is a product? A product is a mechanism of being able to deliver and capture value within the business and to some sort of end user or stakeholder. Product management deals more with the what and the why. Now, as you can see to the left, product management follows more of an iterative process where you have this discovery phase where you're trying to understand not only the market needs, but the needs of the customer. You move this more into a design phase where you start doing low fidelity wireframing, prototyping. You really start discovering the requirements of the solution that you are going to deliver to that end user. Then you go into a build phase, which is more in the world of software, aligned with more of an agile method of delivery where you're constantly delivering value and iterating on that process. There's a testing phase within that framework, and then a launch phase where you go to market with that product. And like I mentioned, the biggest difference between this and a project management methodology is that it's iterative. You're constantly trying to improve on that particular product to not only meet customer needs, but the demands and needs of the market. So essentially, product management and a product itself takes an idea and forms it into a solution. Some of the tools that are used whenever it comes to managing a product are things like roadmaps, backlog prioritization, and then market research frameworks. Like we've talked in other videos, really understanding what the market needs. And unlike project management, this is an ongoing process. It's very iterative, it evolves, and then you're constantly shipping out features to meet that product market need, product market fit. And um, a lot of the questions that are, or a lot of the things that are questioned is, why do we need this? What does a user need? So things like UI, UX design, innovation research, other things like that, methodologies are used within this particular framework. Now, lastly, on the holy trinity of business functions, as we talked about a little bit before, is operations. Now, this is everybody's favorite, at least it's mine. Uh, Operations is where you get some sort of stability within your business organization, right? So, operations really tie everything together. When you move from a project, you have that option of setting up some sort of operation. After the project, the knowns are known. During that project phase, there's a good period of DK. You don't know what you don't know. But after you reach that desired outcome of the project and you deliver its outcome, and if that outcome has some sort of value, you can go back, figure out what steps you did in order to be able to deliver that value, and continuously deliver that particular value to the end user or to the customer. Now, the great thing about operations is that it helps you scale and creates efficiency within your business. Operations are typically an ongoing process. So there's a thought process of constant improvement within your operational basis. So a lot of these frameworks, or a lot of this thinking whenever it comes to operations, is more standardizing it, really leashing the beast, right? Really making sure that everybody's following the same process in order to be able to deliver the expected outcomes. And then there's also an implementation phase. If you're already working in an existing business structure, you're going to have to figure out that implementation. You're going to have to train your people. You're going to have to roll out the actual process. And then there's a level of monitoring where you set up KPIs and you can actually measure the operation because you know exactly what the outcome is. Now, this leads to optimization. Now, whenever you have a fleshed out process, you can start automating some of these processes. You can measure depending on what outcomes you're looking for. If you're trying to reduce the amount of time that your operation is running, you can essentially set up another project in order to be able to streamline that. Some of the tools that are used in operation are workflow automations, really defining what the actual work is done, finding the right tooling in order to be able to automate aspects of that particular process. Process mapping, of course, really understanding where the process starts, A, all the way to where it finishes, Z. And this ensures long-term business success by optimizing internal workflows, standardizing, making sure that everything's easy and understandable, especially when new team members come into the organization. They already have an idea of what's going on, so that way they can already start delivering value within their own position. And this helps also support both product and project management by sustaining maintainable, stable processes. So this creates consistency and stability, especially after a lot of those exploratory phases done through projects and creating new products in the market. When the knowns are known, operations come in and they really create the cement for that particular situation. So you think about it, projects are really meant to clear out the brush. You're really going for it. It's an exploratory environment. You clear out the brush, you create this little pathway. The products allow you to be able to have some sort of gravel in there, but operations really come and cement that road so people can be coming back and forth through that particular aspect. Now, some of the tools that are used or methodologies that are used are things like Six Sigma, Kaizen, and a PDCA framework, which is a plan, do, check, act framework. And like I mentioned, this ensures that processes and systems and workflows are optimized so that way the business can grow. If you don't have a good operation in place, then there's no chance that you're going to be able to scale your product, especially if you've found success early on with your product. If your operations are not in place, there's no chance of scaling. So now that we know all three aspects of the Holy Trinity of business functions, project meant to create change, product meant to create some sort of solution, and operations meant to create stability within the organization. How do these all interconnect? And how can you create a framework in order to be able to use whenever it comes to developing business strategy, orienting yourself with it, whether you're coming into a new business or you're trying to define milestones and really trying to leverage growth within a particular type of market? Well, I did all the hard work for you guys, and now I'm going to go ahead and show you. So how do all of these interconnect and play into each other? Let me go ahead and show you. So this is everybody's favorite chart. Mine in particular. We've talked about this so many times, and in a previous video, I told you that the product life cycle is one of the biggest anchoring points whenever it comes to a mental model, whenever it comes to product strategy, product development, and really understanding where the actual business value is being delivered. This will help you orient and create your own particular strategy. And this is such a valuable framework. We're going to keep going back to it over time. So, kind of a brief refresher. As you can see, this line right here essentially shows you the product's life cycle from that inception, that growth, that maturity, and decline phase. A product has a life cycle. Nothing lasts forever, but there's aspects of growth within that product. So whenever we look at it, a project will kick off that initial early exploration into the market, really trying to figure out whether the goal of that project, like I mentioned, is breaking into a new market, trying to acquire a new customer segment, whatever the goal is, that is essentially the anchoring aspect of it. So as you can see, we have various projects within this example product lifecycle. For example, project one meant to create that initial conception or design phase. In these projects, you can have nested products within that particular project as an outcome. Let's say we're going to deliver some sort of new banking application to a particular market segment. That's the outcome of that project. Now, as things go on, You can align another project to add more features, and that will enable you to find a better product market fit, allow you to be able to scale that project, continue to add more and more feature sets. And then as you get that stability within that project or that product, you can set up projects to create revisions and to really perfect it. And then over the life cycle, you can have a decommission and retirement phase. Now, how do operations play into this? This shaded area shows that how operations assist with that product uh, life cycle. Operations more or less revolve in the shadows. I wouldn't say that, but necessarily pretty much in the background. So whenever you do create a project, that early operation phase and the inception phase is when you're just trying to figure out, you found some momentum, you found some value that you can deliver, and then you start scaling up and setting up that operation. You found that repeatable process from A to Z, and now you're able to do it, whether it's a manual process or you're just trying to figure out what made you successful. That comes in the early inception of a product. Now, as you move through that growth phase, now you start scaling that operation. Now you start growing and you start to try to capture more market share. And if that's the case, you can start growing or you can start automating your workflows, find the right tool set. Maybe you have to bring more people on to start training them in order to be able to deliver more value as a business. After a while, you peak just like when it comes to the product itself. You find that optimization and stability. You start generating revenue. Everything becomes more predictable. You understand your customer. You understand your market. You can predict sales, all of that. You know how long it takes in order to be able to, let's say, implement a piece of your software into the actual customer or the end user. So that way you can start measuring and start creating KPIs for your actual business function. And then over time, just as the product declines, you move more into a transition and decomposition phase where you start phasing out that particular operation, and then you start either aligning more on something else or you start moving to starting other projects. This particular framing will help you not only understand more in depth the actual product lifecycle, but how operations and projects play a critical role into your product development success. Now, over time, like I mentioned, things will eventually change, but this helps you orient where to actually put your resources. So, whenever you're doing any sort of technical management, you can understand, well, now we're in the decommission phase of this particular product. I don't necessarily have to put so many resources in. I can start shifting that into breaking out into a new market or developing a new product. So, like I mentioned, all three of these are extremely important business functions in isolation. But whenever you bring them together to create that holy trinity of business functions, you deliver so much value. This mental model is meant to help you really orient in the landscape so that way you can continue to deliver business value. And like I mentioned, projects are meant for change, are a set of temporary activities that eventually deliver some sort of outcome in an exploratory environment. Two, products take ideas to solutions and are an iterative process. And they sometimes are not linear, but they're a mechanism for being able to capture value within the business in terms of revenue. And then operations are meant to create stability within your particular business in order to be able to repeat value on a consistent basis. And so, with that being said, those are the three components of the Holy Trinity. All of those together will ensure that you are delivering business value. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this something helpful? Did you even know about the business trinity? How can this mental model be improved? Also, changed up the setup a little bit, changed up the format. Let me know what you guys think. Is this something of value? How are you using the Holy Trinity within your particular business? Let me know in the comments, and like, comment, share. And like I mentioned, we'll get you on the next one. I got a really good one. The next video, we're going to talk about a system of value delivery, specifically when it comes to projects. So, like I mentioned, this is Caesar coming straight from the underground. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.